Ryan Klein, someone that I'm very excited to catch up with. Now, we've had a couple of chats on field, off field, and when I say on field, at the edges of the Newlands boundary, maybe in the dugout a little bit between warm-up matches, or maybe sometimes I'll pop my head around there when they're playing some matches as well. Good banter over there. Maybe at Western Province Cricket Club, we'll catch up sometimes on the benches outside and talking while they're having a couple of warm-up games. And always very interesting, always very lively, always very insightful. A very fun guy to speak to. I get that vibe from his teammates as well in the different age groups that he's played, that I've seen him play as well at certain Majordo weeks, etc. And you can see that he in the team is well respected by his peers as well as coaches that I've spoken to as well. So we're going to get him on the show today. He made a very interesting move to one of the places that I've always spoken about on this particular podcast, because it's something that it's an area and it's a country that I hold very dearly in my heart, and it's something close to me that I always reminisce about. I was very young when I was there, so I don't remember it as fondly as I would like to say so, but obviously I'll have to revisit it sometime so that I can pick up on those memories again. But we're going to be talking to Ryan Klein. We're going to have somebody that he knows very well from school as well, someone that you saw on the podcast previously. And of course, we'll have the regular Aditya to ask some of the questions that are a little bit out of the box that we don't normally think of while we're having this conversation. So we're going to bring them all on next. Hey guys, welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your daily show. I'm your host, Khalid. This is a daily show with a twist, and welcome to the show, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Aditya's here with me. As I said, Ryan's with me, and Craig is with me. We're going to be getting into a conversation. So this is not your normal news bulletin that we or discussion that we normally have. We're going to have it a little bit differently. If I can ask everybody just to mute your mics. Ryan, I'll control your one. But the rest of you guys, please, if you can, and I'll control your one, Ryan. Okay, guys, let's get into it. First and foremost, Ryan, welcome to the show again. I normally start this with you giving us a little bit of a background, because some of us don't have normal journeys when we start cricket. Everybody's journey is different. Now, I want to know when it started for you, when you were introduced to cricket, and when it became something that you really became fond of, and something that you thought that, I want to do this, and I really want to have fun doing this more often.
So, evening, guys. Thanks for having me on the show. Flip. So my journey started, can't remember my exact age, but I know it was my grandmother. She threw me my first ball. I think my mom and dad always told me, I think I was about 2 or 3 years old. And we was in the driveway at home, and we would just play cricket the whole afternoon when she came to visit. So that's kind of where I found my feet kind of into the game. And then as I went on and got older, cricket just kind of became part of who I was. I was lucky enough to have a little brother, 4 years younger. So we would play in the backyard at home all the time, literally for hours and hours after school. And then, as I went to Alcana Senior Primary School, and there cricket was a nice sport that we played together. And like a lot of my mates, we kind of, after school, we'd stay extra, we'd play, we'd train, and all that. And then, it's kind of went to under 13 trials for province, didn't really quite crack it. So I was in the northern suburbs, I was regarded as quite a good cricketer. But then when it came to like meeting with the southern suburb schools, and obviously the Rondebosch prep, the Sachs prep, Bishop's prep, majority of those kids kind of shot through into the provincial sides. And then I decided to make the move to Rondebosch Boys High School in grade 8. That's where I met Craig. Craig and I were in the same year at Bosch. I think we were in the same maths class as well from grade 8 to matric. And then, I kind of started off on the B side there, played under 14 B cricket, was captain of that team. So then it was quite a roller coaster grade 8 year for me. Started on the B side, and then made my way into the A side, and then under 15, started on the B side as well, and then made my first team debut at the end of grade 9. So that was kind of not my breakthrough year, but the year where I kind of figured out a little bit more about what I was doing and things. And then played first team from grade 9 all the way to matric. And then from then from doing that time as well, I played for the province under 15 A side, under 17 A side twice, and then played one Coke week with at Rondebosch. I was blessed to play with Zubair Hamza, who's now captaining the SAA side, made his Proteas debut as well. Dayan Khalim, another rising star in South African cricket, also believe he's in the SAA side. Hayes van der Berg, another guy who played Protea SA 19, who I believe is in Scotland now. Murray Cummins, who's actually trying to qualify for Ireland. He qualifies at the end of this year. And then, so then from after school, kind of went into the province academy, tried to break through into the provincial structure. That took me a little bit longer than anticipated because of all the talent that Western Province and the Cape Cobras have. And then, got my break about 2 seasons ago, got my first provincial contract. That's where I met you. Then from there onwards, I made my debut, and then COVID happened, and here we are.
Things
now.
changed.
I'm sitting in the Netherlands.
Yeah, things changed drastically. But there's something that Craig actually pointed out to me early on in the conversation, and you mentioned it there, your primary school. Would you say it was, how recognizable was it for cricket, for example? How recognized was it for cricket? Was it difficult for you to make it?
So the best analogy is kind of the big fish in the small pond and small fish in the big pond type of thing. So Arcana House wasn't really a massive, it was a co-ed school, private school, out in, I think, with Bloberg Strand. There were more girls than boys in my grade. I think there were about 40 boys and 50 girls, whatever it was. So there wasn't much. It was only one cricket team. The B side wouldn't really have a full team. So I was kind of I was actually with, as Craig mentioned earlier, Dylan Amos, one of our mates as well. He was also at that school, and he also moved to Rondebosch, and we were kind of the top 2 cricketers in the school, so to say. So it was kind of, if we didn't really perform, then it was kind of, the whole performance was kind of on us. If we didn't perform, the team wouldn't kind of necessarily do too well. So it was, for me, I knew if I wanted to go anywhere with my sport, or because I was also an avid hockey player, also started playing rugby. So I knew if I wanted to, continue playing high level of sport, I'd have to make the move to Rondebosch. So it was kind of, as I said, small fish, but big fish in a small pond, going to Rondebosch, seeing all, because obviously when I got to there, it was, the name Murray Cummins already at the age of 14, Dayan Khalim. So it was kind of like you go there and you think, oh, this is who they're talking about, and now I get to actually be at a school with him and play with him. So it was definitely a move that needed to be made if I wanted to, continue playing a decent level.
Yeah, I think I can kind of relate to you a little bit over there. I wasn't playing I wasn't playing A-team cricket at high school, but in 14 A's, etc. But when it comes to moving from us, like you could say, you're almost like a big fish in a small pond. At the previous school that I was at in primary school, the jump is so big because you don't expect the competition to be that massive, especially when you're performing well. It's easy to perform well when you're the person in the team that they turn to all the time. But as soon as you're not, it can be quite tricky. Yeah. I want to ask you about that jump. I mean, Rondebosch Boys High School. You're there. There's so many youngsters that you know about. You heard about someone like Dayan Khalid. Very confident player. Humble but very confident. I don't know what he was like at high school. Maybe I should have brought him on the stream as well, actually, to get some banter going. But I mean, I'm going to ask you this question, like that jump. Explain that jump to me. What sort of advice could you give to someone that was in a similar situation? And then Craig, you can take the question, a couple of questions after that, and then Aditya.
Yeah, cool.
It was kind of very daunting. Obviously, comfort zone, grade 7, because kind of Arcana, they started their high school. They were a different system where their high school was started in grade 7. So then you move over to the high school campus. So it kind of, in a way, it was almost like a double whammy. I'm starting high school for the second time, so to say, because grade 7, I started high school at Arcana, and then grade 8, high school at Rondebosch. So it's almost like it was a daunting year, because it's going from a co-ed school where you're comfortable, all your mates, all of a sudden going to all boys school with I think we're 164 people in our grade. So to see that, just walking in first day, and you go to the Mere Center. I think that's where we were first welcomed, and you just see all these boys all wanting to, play A-team sport, be good mates. And it was just like, that was very daunting because you kind of don't know anyone. Well, luckily I knew, as I said, Dylan Amos, we were friends. So I knew at least knew one person. But it's definitely, you put out of your comfort zone. I can still remember the first day I rocked up there. My parents, because I live quite far from the school, about 45 minutes drive. So I'd first morning for school, remember waking up at 5:30, out the door at 6 to get to school that starts at 8. So I arrived early. So it was like just the whole morning was just anticipation. And then eventually got there, and then you're just so overwhelmed by all the boys. But I suppose in a way it's also nice because everyone's kind of starting a new journey, except for the prep boys. I think, Craig, you went to the prep school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all the Bosch prep boys kind of knew each other. So in a way they had like a little bit of a comfort. And also the boarders had spent, I think, because I started off as a day boy and then halfway through grade 8, I went to boarding school. So then in the beginning, the boarders kind of had their own clique. And then the new day boys, they kind of mingled and found their own feet. So it was definitely daunting for sure.
Brew, how much did you sort of like actively pick the brains of guys like Murray and Deon to try and figure out how you could bridge the gap between your development as a cricketer compared to theirs? Or, I mean, was there a particular coach, maybe good old Lloyd Nell or whoever that was integral to your development?
So I suppose with Murray and Daisy, they were obviously, earmarked. As soon as they got to the school, they were the best from grade 8 all the way to matric. They were the two best performers, certainly in my year. So I think in the beginning, it was obviously not making the A side first up. It was not hard to kind of get in, but it's obviously I remember grade 8, first day, there was cricket trials and no one knew about it. We all had to rush our cricket bags. I had to phone my parents. They had to bring it through from Melkbos. So it was like no one kind of knew about it. And then they obviously made the grade PE side and they all went on tour. So they already, in the first week, those guys kind of already were mates first because they spent the whole week together saying, oh, you're in the A team, I'm also in the A team. That's kind of how you start to develop your first friends, is the first kind of sports tour you go on in a new environment. So I remember starting in the B side. So it wasn't much in the beginning. I didn't really pick their brains that much because it wasn't more like you didn't become friends straight away because I wasn't in that initial team. So I think as time went on and you start putting in performances and people start noticing, oh, okay, Ryan can actually play a bit of cricket. Then the conversation starts. Then you start picking a bit more brains and start talking more and interacting with one another. So I'd probably say, in the beginning, didn't really pick their brains that much, but certainly as I made my way into the A side and spent a lot more time with them, Murray and Daisy, I speak to them often now, we're good mates. But in the beginning, it was more like first trying to, because they were obviously the top dogs, so to say, the sports jocks coming into the school. So you kind of got to like build your way up into the A team. And then once you're in, it's kind of like, okay, now we can kind of get to know each other a little bit more.
And obviously, I don't know how much Khalid alluded to your other sporting abilities, but at one point, didn't you play first team or A team cricket, rugby, hockey, and soccer? Have I got that correct?
That was. I remember Rondebosch had this weird. Well, not weird, but when I was there, you could only play one major summer sport and one major winter sport. So I started off in grade 8 with cricket and hockey, and then grade 9 I wanted to play rugby. So obviously I stuck with cricket, and then in the winter it was weird. I jumped between hockey. I made under 14A hockey side. Then I played first year of rugby. Had one game in the 15Bs, and then after that I played in the A side. Grade 10 then made my debut for the first team against Paul Roos for cricket, and then in grade 10 stuck with the first team cricket, played under 16A hockey. Then grade 11 it was under 16. No, it was first team cricket, and then I went on exchange to England for I think it was 2 months, where in our winter, and then I didn't really play any sport, but then I came back and continued playing hockey, and I made my first team hockey debut then. And then in matric, I remember good old Clint van Rensburg pulled me aside and said, Ryan, we need another centre or a wing, and I think you'd be perfect for it. So then he kind of convinced me to come over and play a bit of rugby. So in matric, decided to play rugby, and then I tried to wangle my way to play hockey as well, first team hockey. But the hockey department weren't too happy with me playing rugby and hockey. Rugby were fine with it, but hockey they weren't really keen on me playing rugby as well. So yeah, but and then football with good old Mr. Halday was also a nice experience.
Halday is a legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that egg. Yeah. Is he still? I wonder if he's still there. Probably.
He's still there. I'm sure he's still there.
That's wild. But you alluded to growing up with your brother and playing cricket in the garden and stuff like that. I mean, how much do you think that even contributed to your development as a player? Just like just putting in the reps and spending time working on your bowling action or your batting technique, etc. I mean, did that play a role at all?
Yeah, so definitely. I remember there were often times where we'd come up with funky things. We'd take a bodyboard. We'd obviously watch Test cricket and watch Oaks bowling, Gash, Dale Steyn, Morne Morkel, all those guys, like seeing people get hit in the head with hitting the head. So my brother and I, we'd try and recreate that stuff. So we'd put like a bodyboard, balance it on something, and just absolutely ping tennis balls at each other. Or we just try funky scenarios and always try and see what we can do different. So that was also a nice thing to do with him. So I'd say definitely that's the only way to do it. You kind of experiment and try new things in a comfortable environment where you start to learn new things about the game. So that's definitely an area where kind of worked on my game. I remember in lockdown last year, even though it was a little bit later on, because obviously we weren't training and the season was called off because of COVID, but I remember we would draw up this like crazy program. We would train, we'd do fitness, and then for an hour we'd do tennis ball hitting, and then we'd do hardball stuff, and then we'd do fielding. So it was definitely, I mean, even I reckon when I get back home, because my brother's he's playing cricket in the UK at the moment, the first thing we'd probably do is do you fancy a game of GC? And you'll be like, sure, let's go. And we'll just, I mean, even now, even at the age of he's 20, I'm 24, we'll still be like we 10 years old and 6 years old. Nothing's changed, really. So yeah.
So.
And then also, just going back to what you said, any coach in the beginning that had an influence, that now one thing I remember I didn't answer, is Peter Harold. I don't know if you ever came across him.
Yeah.
So he was, when I came to school, he had his own cricket academy called Crickspert. And I remember he was the one who kind of helped me. So he was the one coach that kind of pushed me to say, you're almost there, keep going. So I did a lot of work with him. And he was actually the first team coach. So when I started putting in performances and things, he kind of put me to the side, and I ended up doing quite nicely. So he would definitely be one coach that I would say was instrumental to my cricket from a young age. Well, since I got to Bosch, he's probably the one that kind of made me realize that I am good enough to be playing first team cricket and to pursue a career in it. So he was definitely one of them.
Cool, Aditya.
How's it, mate? I'm always struck by something Michael Atherton said a couple of years ago, where his son playing age group cricket played in South Africa for a while, and he said that South African cricketers, budding cricketers, coming through the school ranks are just a country mile ahead of the English school kids. And I was just wondering, you said that you played cricket in England for 2 months through an exchange program, and I was wondering what your view of that statement would be. What was your analysis, your experience of it?
So I'd say the one thing about South African cricket as a school, I think schoolboy cricket in South Africa is very strong. I think it's obviously boys' schools particularly are the stronger ones. I think there's just a lot of investment in South African boys' school cricket. They've got the Coca-Cola T20 schools thing, which kind of you play in a round robin thing against other schools, and then the best winner of the province represents the ex-franchise system. So, for instance, when I was in grade 10, we represented the Cobras as the franchise, and for instance, Kes won in in Gauteng, and they represented the Lions. So that you're always playing against the best of the best. So I think that was one thing where in South Africa, you're always challenging, like you play declaration cricket, you play against Sachs, Wynberg, Bishops, you're always playing against the best schools. And what I really found when I went to the UK is that there's so much cricket there. There's so many different schools. So, and to play against, I remember we went on tour. So after my exchange, we went on a cricket tour around the UK. So it was kind of like I met up with the boys after my exchange. And the school I played at was a school called Recon College, and they were in Shropshire. And I found that the school system the bigger schools, so kind of like the boys' schools, I think, so to say, but in England it's more co-ed, like Eton College. There's a school called Harrow. I remember we played on tour. Whitgift there. So there are also strong English schools, but I just don't know how often the English schools have like the best of the best competitions. And also I'm not too sure on I know that their county system is very strong with the county twos, but their age group cricket, I'm not too sure on how for instance, their under 15 weeks or their under 17 weeks and the Coke weeks. I think in South Africa, we're very blessed that there's continuous integration between the provinces there's always a competition that you're going to play against someone in. I remember when I was in grade 9, we went on so many cricket tours. That's one thing at all boys school Rondebosch did was, I think we went on 3 cricket tours a season. I remember the one year, I stand to be corrected, I always kept track of the games we played. I think we played 45 matches in a season. So, and that's including T20s, 50 overs, declaration games. So, I mean, the amount of cricket you play is so much, and you're playing against top quality opposition. I remember going to St. David's in grade 9 and watching Kagiso Rabada bowling. I think Kes were playing St. David's Marist, and KG was just taking off his kids' heads, and you just think like, wow, this guy he's playing for the Proteas, and I mean, I'm here and playing against him. So the one thing SA cricket, the schoolboy cricket definitely does is there's a lot of like the best of the best are playing each other. That's one thing I could say for certain. And I don't personally know a lot about the UK youth structure and how often they play against each other, but that's definitely one focal point for me would be the amount of cricket that different provinces, schools, and the weeks play against each other. That's definitely one point.
That's great, and definitely offers a lot of insight because growing up in India, which is as cricket crazy as they come, I haven't played 45 games in my life, let alone in a season. And I was thinking that how much does it help for you to play overseas at such a young age? And do you think that contributes to your development as you progress into your career?
Yeah, I think so. For me, growing up, I was always regarded as a bowler. So if you play when I was at school, as I mentioned earlier on in the show, when I made my first team debut, our batting lineup was Hayes van der Berg, Matthew Christensen, who plays at EP. 3 was Zubair Hamza. No, 3 was Hayes. 4 was Zubair Hamza. 5 was Dejan. 6 was Murray. 7, the batting lineup was there was no spots in the batting lineup. So you kind of not get put in a box, but at training, there were so many batters ahead of me that you don't really get the opportunity to work on your batting. So going overseas to, like, for instance, on exchange, I didn't go to the strongest. It's not the strongest cricket school, but over there I was kind of the key players as a bowler, and then as a batter, I got a nice opportunity to bat in the middle order and ended up doing quite nicely. So, I definitely say by playing overseas, it definitely allows you to work on different aspects of your game. So you go over there in a fresh mind, you're not really in a box, if that makes sense. You're not going over as just a bowler where they look at you in a completely different perspective, which was quite cool and nice and quite fresh.
So I was just wondering that when, I think now you're in the Netherlands, right?
Yeah.
So what are the considerations that go through your mind when you decide to play cricket in another country? what facet of your game are you trying to develop, or what sort of opportunities are you looking for exactly?
Okay, so I'm lucky enough to have a Dutch passport. So I got that from my dad. My dad's passed that down to me through his family. So I've always had the Dutch passport, and it's always been an option for me to come and play here. But I decided to stick it out in South Africa, and as I said, I was contracted at the Western Province for 2 seasons. And now with the restructure, I was one of the unlucky ones not to get offered a contract at Western Province and also in the new divisions. So I kind of, because it was always in the back of my mind, do I stay in South Africa, give it a crack, try and play professionally here, or do I go to Holland where I qualify straight away? Do I go play club cricket there for a season just to show that I'm committed to them? So that's kind of, and obviously COVID didn't help last year. So we were supposed to play a full season of first class cricket, because I think I've only played 7 before the season had started. I'd only played 5 first class games, and they announced that they're going to have a reshuffle. And I think the ballpark figure was 80 or 85 cricketers would lose contracts. So naturally thinking, I've only played 5 games. I'm more than likely going to be one of the players that's not going to be offered a contract, just purely based on, number one, the expertise, which is, needed at that level. And there's more cricketers that have the more expertise than I do. So I said, I kind of said that things will kind of play out by itself. If I don't get offered a contract, then I'll definitely go over to Holland and give it a crack there. So that's why I'm actually here. I'm pursuing to play for the Netherlands, for the international side.
Wow. Massive story over here from our perspective, because that's the first time I'm properly hearing about that. So let me ask you the question, because I think that you can freely talk about it. Mm-hmm. It was when the new franchise system came into place, I automatically thought that this would be an opportunity to strengthen the club cricket game. And why I say that, because of the filter system. Now, you've played club cricket in South Africa, and I want to ask you about the different provinces. Do you guys get to play against other provinces to compare how strong club cricket is in other provinces? And as well as you would have spoken to some of your teammates at Western Province or some of the guys that are losing contracts, and their only option is to play for South Africa. They maybe don't have a passport to play somewhere else. You had that option, which is quite lucky for you. Have you spoken to some of them to get to see what's in their minds about whether they're going to pursue cricket, playing club cricket? And is club cricket going to be strong enough to be able to get the financial backing or the financial distribution to players on contracts to keep them in cricket professionally?
Yeah, so it was kind of, to answer your question, we had a bubble in Kimberley. So because obviously the season didn't happen, we had a 3-week bubble in Kimberley with 3 other provinces. And it was quite a stressful time as a cricketer, because you've got to focus on performing, but you also know that in the back of your mind, there's a window, the transfer window is opened. I need to put in performances here. Players are getting calls from their agents. Like, then you speak on the phone to your agent thinking, has something come for me? What must I do? Because I'm turning 24 now this month in June, and I've already finished my degree. I was contracted at Western Province, and that was my only income. So, if I was, say, 20 years old, the new feeder structure definitely would work, because then I could be studying at university. I wouldn't need to get paid to be playing cricket. And then I could just finish my 3-year degree, train in the academy and play. But now at the age of 24, I have my degree, haven't been offered a professional contract, but I can't play for free. So where do I draw the line? Do I say, okay, cool, I'm going to play club cricket, but then I'm going to get a job? And then if I do get called up, because now the feeder system obviously goes Western Province, then you've got the senior pro Colts, I think they're calling it now, where you can play, but you've kind of got to play for free then. And I think playing for free, I can only see it working for guys that are young enough to still be studying and not need to earn a job to keep a living. So I definitely think it will make club cricket stronger, definitely, because a lot of those senior provincial guys will still be playing club cricket, but I'm not too sure on what so I'm just talking from a personal personal point of view, if I had to be in Cape Town, I would have to make a decision: do I get a job and play club cricket, or what am I giving up on my professional dream? So my out was, okay, I'm going to go give Holland a crack where I can potentially make it if I work hard enough and prove myself here. So yeah, that's kind of what I thought. It is tough for an aspiring cricketer. If I had to put myself in someone else's shoes, because I think in my side, in the Western Province side, the senior men's side, only one person got a contract, and that was Mkhlali Popo. So he got the rookie contract at Western Province. So the 10 other guys, everyone's you kind of going to go where you can get a gig. So a lot of guys are playing cricket overseas. I don't know about some of the guys that are young enough, they'll definitely still keep going. But for someone who's 26, 27, 28, I think they've kind of given up on the dream to play professional cricket. So it was I can tell you, it was a rough. You're fighting with yourself. Do I give up? Do I not? Do I pursue it? So yeah, it was a tough time.
That's actually quite heartbreaking to hear that. Aditya, I'm going to give you one more, and then Craig, you can finish off.
This is a non-cricket question. I was just wondering what you studied and how that's helped you in your cricket career.
So I did a bachelor of commerce in finance and accounting. So it was kind of it's unrelated to my cricketing field. So my dad is a chartered accountant. So I've been fascinated by it, even though he always told me, don't go into accounting. It's boring and it's all this. So my idea was just go to university, get a degree, so that if the cricket thing doesn't work, you can got a degree to fall back on. So that's kind of why that's kind of why I stayed. I had the opportunity to go study overseas and play cricket overseas, but I just decided I'm going to stay at home, get my degree, and then once I've got my degree, I'll go overseas and play cricket. So yeah, it's kind of was just in the back of my mind. If cricket doesn't work out, I've got something to fall back on.
Bruce, so just finally, obviously it is, your schedule's pretty grueling and stuff. How do you take your mind off the game when you're not playing? How do you spend your off days generally?
So at the moment, the club I'm playing for it's in The Hague. So it's not like in South Africa. You've got the national side, then you've got the franchises, and then you've got club cricket. Whereas in Holland, the club cricket is their domestic cricket. So there's no level, there's no bridge between national and club cricket. So it's quite a weird one. Like where you'd think you're just playing and training. Over here in Holland, it's like you're training with so-called clubbies, but the club that I play for, the Dutch national wicketkeeper plays here, and you're always thinking like, okay, this guy plays club cricket, and then he's facing guys that are playing cricket. Sometimes they've played cricket for 2 years, and then all of a sudden next week he's facing a bowler from Ireland that bowls 140 k's an hour. Like the Dutch, they just played against Ireland in the World Cup Super League. Played 3 games, and all those guys in the national side, or majority of them, besides for the 3 county players, they play club cricket in Holland, and they face bowlers that you would have never expected to play against. So there's no what can I say? So there's no bridging the gap between it. So my schedule at the moment is Mondays are my day off. I coach at Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. I'm coaching all afternoon. Then Saturdays we're playing. Sundays we take our own. We each have a youth team because Theo Walborough is also at the same club I'm at. So we're actually staying together at the moment. So we each have a team to take and train. So it's kind of like to switch off on the game. It's quite hard because you're kind of involved in cricket all the time. So I think it's just a nice way to do it is on the Mondays, the off days, you just go to the gym, clear your mind. The weather's finally looking good. So you can go to the beach and whatnot. Whereas in the beginning, I think we had 30 days of rain straight. We've missed 4 games due to rain. It was the worst start for summer in 100 years in Holland. So it was a dark start.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Khalid, do you have any questions? Because obviously Holland is, as you mentioned, quite dear to you, dear to your heart.
It is. Okay. So for probably grade 1 and 2, I stayed in Amersfoort. in Holland. So that was a place that I know quite fondly. I don't know where you said you in The Hague, so it's obviously in a different area. But I mean, when you've gone back to Amersfoort, or have you gone to Amersfoort at all? Or
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know where in Holland that would be.
okay, cool. Then it's exactly. So this maybe if you have an opportunity to go back there, there's maybe like anytime you travel there, then they let me know. But I mean, how's it been settling in Holland? I mean, how many times did you travel to Holland in the past? And I mean, what is it like? What is your favorite parts about being there and staying there and having and obviously living there?
Yeah, so life's very different here. I mean, it's because we're chatting to Teo about it. Everything's so different. The public transport, everything works, everything's reliable. I mean, in the summer, obviously it's quite a biased view because in summer the sun's out till 10:30 at night, so it's light until, I mean, at the moment it's 20 to 7, and it looks like it's 4 o'clock in Cape Town when it is summer. So I mean, the weather, first of all, that's been a massive plus. It's light for long. You don't really have to worry about looking over your shoulder, so to say, if someone's gonna, if something bad can happen to you, if you can get mugged or anything. So safety-wise, it's a massive bonus. And yeah, I just think settling in, there's quite a nice expat community in The Hague, and I've got a few, because my parents lived here a couple of years ago, well, just before I was born, and they've got old friends. So for settling in, it's actually been quite nice. They've been inviting me over for dinner. I've been seeing them, seeing some of their family, and yeah, just the power of the euro, so to say. It's quite nice earning in euros because you're not converting it back to rands all the time, because if on the rand it's quite expensive, I'm sure, as you could remember. But yeah, it's just easy living here. So everything's accessible. I mean, I go 5 minutes by bicycle, I'm at the beach, or 5 minutes to a tram stop, and then I can take a tram into The Hague or go into Amsterdam within 50 minutes. So it's just quite nice and quite easy.
Yeah, I mean, when I was there, it was still guilders.
Yeah,
It's a while ago. So we got one question from a fan here that wants to know. He says, will you still be eligible for South Africa if you play for the Netherlands? But obviously, you can answer that.
So it's a weird one. There's been quite a few, because Holland is not a full member in the ICC. So they're still an associate nation, as the way I understand it. So I'm not sure what the ruling is, but if I've played for the Netherlands, I think I might still be eligible for SA, but I'm not too sure on what that ruling is, because I know, for instance, Brendan Glover, he's playing for the Dutch at the moment, and he came over about 2 years ago, and he was with Boerland at the time. And I heard a rumor that if he wanted to, because I spoke to Saka about it, and they told me that he had to decide between Holland and playing first-class cricket in South Africa. So at the moment, I'd probably say I'm not sure, but I'd assume if I represent another country, that I cannot be eligible to play for South Africa.
Yeah,
but
someone in the comment section says that Van der Merwe played for both SA as well as Holland, but obviously it happened after each other.
Van der Merwe played for South Africa first,
yeah.
And then afterwards he moved over to county cricket and then would have explored. So I think if you want to play for another country, you have to kind of give up your right to play for that country if you already have. So I think Van der Merwe would have had to retire from playing for South Africa or announce that he's going to pursue in Holland. Whereas I haven't come close to playing for anywhere in South Africa, so I don't think that would be an option. I just don't think I'd be able to have a first-class contract, so to say.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks a lot for coming on the show, Ryan, as well. Thank you, Craig and Aditya, for all the questions and that you posed for Ryan. We'll get you on the show for another part 2 that we can go more in depth. Maybe like a podcast show would fit you perfectly, because I think that's something that we can just sit back and relax and just talk about life and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
perfect.
you're settling in. So then I can maybe for what's his name, Harshit, in the comment section. We'll have more than one person on the screen maybe for that one. So guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button and click the notification bell and smash that like button and comment and share. Ryan, please share this on all your social media platforms when you have a chance. I did it now on a live video, so he admitted that he's going to do it. So guys, go check up on him. So thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow with another daily show. Take care, everybody.